So as you know, Armin, you're one of my favorite people.
Thank you, and you are one of mine as well.
Thank you, and I just want to talk for a minute about how I came up with Far Beyond the Stars for DS9.
My favorite episode on Deep Space Nine, Far Beyond the Stars, which you created, and what's great about that episode, it's not only good Star Trek, it is phenomenal science fiction. It is what science fiction does well. It deals with the future, but also deals with the past, and also deals with social issues.
That was great. Yeah, I was very proud of it. And two interesting things about Far Beyond the Stars. When I was a teenager, I was mentored by Theodore Sturgeon. Theodore Sturgeon was one of the great science fiction writers. He wrote for the original Star Trek. And through him, I got to understand that whole milieu of the 1950s science fiction writers. And I really wanted to pay tribute to that world and those writers who we wouldn't have Star Trek or Star Wars or any of this stuff if not for them. And so that was the germ of that idea. And
wasn't my character based on one of those guys?
Yes, he was. And I also wanted to really explore the issue of why we write and why science fiction is important and why, speaking of future...
Why is science fiction important, Mark?
Well, the fascinating thing is, when Martin Luther King gave the speech, I have a dream, and he starts describing that dream, in that moment, he's a science fiction writer, because he's describing a future that has not yet happened. And by describing it, it starts to create it, a hopeful vision of a future that doesn't yet exist.
So do you believe that episodes that you have created and your peers have created will indeed induce us to a better future because they've seen it?
Yes, because I know from watching the original Star Trek, from watching things like City on the Edge of Forever, that a person's life can be changed with one episode of one TV series, because mine was. And with Twilight Zone and Outer Limits and Star Trek, the original Star Trek, that set me on this course. And it's not just a course, an artistic course, it's a course as a human being to show compassion to others, to live a compassionate and committed life. Well, also, another inspiration of that episode was Harlan Ellison did a cassette tape, talking about writing in the 50s, and he mentioned that they would do the artwork first, and then you would try and pitch a story to the artwork for the cover. And that gave me that idea of the cover that would be DS9.
Right.
And so it's with that whole thing of the different characters, or the DS9 characters, the main character was the captain of the ship, and he's a science fiction writer, all that stuff. And that by day he's working with the white writers, and he's writing under a white pseudonym, but at night he's with his friends in Harlem. But when I was on set, Avery Brooks was kind of looking at me wondering who I was, because he was directing it.
Yeah.
And so he said, "All right, everyone, let's break for lunch." And I walked over and I said, "Hello, Mr. Brooks, my name's Marc Zicree. I came up with this story." And he said, everybody stop!" And he put his arm around me and said, "Say to them what you just said to me." And I said, "I came up with the story." And he said, "He came up with the story." And everyone applauded me. And so that was a great moment.
Well, Avery loved that episode, and he put his heart and soul into it. And not only as director, which was phenomenal work he did there, but he has a monologue in it where he collapses. I don't think Avery would mind me saying this, but that particular monologue that he did and the situation that you outlined for him was some of the best work I ever saw him do on Deep Space Nine.
Yeah. Well, I mean, another part of writing really moving pieces is writing roles that will engage the actors, and that's something that I'm always thinking, and even in our friendship and our working relationship, I'm always thinking of roles that will engage you and that might be different from things you've done before, have something that's going to be fresh that you can get your teeth into.
Exactly.
So after DS9, we then did A Real Story with my wife Elaine. We executive produced and wrote a pilot presentation with Tom Fontana that you starred in as a crusading journalist. And then I guess we did the Magic Time radio play.
And then I did the narration for your book.
Yeah, you narrated the audiobook of Magic Time, and then we shot the trailer for Magic Time, and now here we are with Space Command.
We are.
Yeah, so we're going to continue to have many adventures to come.
I hope so. Yeah, and these people will get a chance to see some of those adventures.
Yeah, but and then my first question anytime I write anything is, what's the role for Armin?
That's my question too. Mark. What's the role for me?
Well, thank you for being part of this adventure.
My pleasure, Mark. Really, my pleasure. Thank you.